Okay, great. So how do you put this attitude into practice?
Put it into practice really by making your client be the top priority in your life. There's something that I've shared with you and we've talked about a couple of times where the difference between just the words customer and client. You know, if you look at Webster's dictionary, a customer is someone who purchases a commodity or a service. Mm-hmm. But a client is someone who comes under the protection and guidance of. Now, if you adopt, again, the belief system, that core fuel that you operate off of, that the people you deal with are your clients, are you going to treat them much differently if you're taking the attitude and the responsibility that they're under your protection and guidance rather than they're just there to purchase a product or service? You know, operating with that belief system, that power attitude, that doing business with me is the best choice somebody can make, it puts a real level of responsibility on me to make sure that I understand you, I understand your needs, and I serve you better than anybody else ever will.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense now. Mm-hmm. The second attitude, which is?
Second attitude is that I never get rejected. I just find out if somebody recognizes that they need my services or not.
It's very hard to have this attitude when people say no.
It is.
Many times to you.
Because we've been conditioned to take no personally. Mm-hmm. And again, the thing I need to keep coming back to is this is about an attitude of operating from, a belief system of operating from. If I'm taking that no personally, it's lowering my ability to serve you in the way that I need to serve you. If I just recognize that...
Explain that. Explain that statement.
Well, okay, if I'm coming in and I'm operating at 100%, mm-hmm. and I'm focused on giving you the best, your rejection of me is not a personal attack. But if I take it as a personal attack, I've just gone from being able to operate at 100% effectiveness down to 90 or 80. The idea of coming from the belief system that you don't get rejected is about shielding yourself from that personal undercutting that we do. Really, when you look at it, the rejection is not a personal rejection, but salespeople take it as such. Mm-hmm. The real underlying fact is that your service does not meet their needs, or that you've not demonstrated to them that your service meets their needs.
So you should still approach the client as if you could help even people they know who might have that need.
Yes, absolutely.
And if you don't, then that's when you give up. That's your message?
Again, it's not about giving up. It's about recognizing that at that moment, coming back to belief one, power attitude one, mm-hmm. doing business with me is the best decision you can make. That also means that if my service does not suit your needs, it's my responsibility to make sure you don't buy it.
Yeah, but I'm saying that most business owners will, or salespeople will give up at that point.
Yes.
And that's what they shouldn't do.
Exactly. Absolutely.
They should take it as an introduction to the next step of seeing who needs the service or whether someone else needs the service.
Absolutely.
Okay, what about the third?
The third attitude can be a little bit confusing for people. When I say that, you know, I never truly know what my client needs, so I always go for it congruently and powerfully. It comes back to another discussion that you and I had, that many salespeople, many business people come in selling their product based on what they're passionate about. I don't know what you're passionate about and what your needs are. So if I go with that first part of the principle, that I never truly know what your motivation is to buy, then that means that I need to go step by step in listening what your needs, your values, your emotional core buying strategies are, congruently, powerfully, to make sure that I'm getting your information, not trying to step in with mine. As
we said in a previous program, apply the 80-20 rule in reverse.
Yes.
And which you described as?
Spend 80% of your time listening versus where most people spend 80% of their time selling and talking. 80% of your time listening, 20% of your time speaking, and out of that 20%, insert another 80-20 where it's 80% of your time is questions rather than trying to sell them on something.
Rather than telling them.
Yes, absolutely.
Great. So what I see here is your advice to people is to change habit patterns.
Well,
and tapes that they've been playing.
Exactly. Change the tapes that you've been playing internally, because changing what you're telling yourself is going to change what you do, change your habit patterns. Every action we take, again, comes based on what we tell ourselves, the things that we've rehearsed year after year after year to be able to just automatically run on these systems.
Our next power attitude, number 4.
The next power attitude of, I forget where I inserted these because I missed one when I skipped it. So the next power attitude, let's just talk about that there's no failures, I always achieve an outcome. Because I, again, forgot the order that I put them in.
Right.
They kind of don't go sequentially, they're just a group of 6. It comes back to what we were talking about with Edison. If you walk into a situation and you take that rejection as a failure, you start reevaluating all of these things from a negative perspective. You limit your ability to truly serve the people the best way that you can. If you look at it as always getting an outcome, you now approach it from an analytical standpoint of going, okay, in doing this, what could I have done better? What step did I miss? So again, it's stripping away that personal attachment to it. Because the belief systems that we hold that operate our lives, most of them we've picked up from other people. They're not even true belief systems of our own. This idea of I never fail, I always achieve an outcome is, again, putting a shield to that personal attachment to it, that personal feeling of rejection, allowing you to look at it from a logical standpoint and really analyze and see what you can do better next time.
Okay, that's great. So in our analysis of a situation, we should analyze those decisions as facts and not as judgments.
Exactly.
Would you say that?
Yes, exactly. Which actually that now takes me back to what was the 4th one that I had said, which was never attach too much meaning to being accepted or rejected.
Okay, explain.
This one, it's similar to the previous one we mentioned about not being rejected, just finding out whether they actually are aware that they need our service, and then the no failure. But the caveat in this one that makes it different is about not attaching too much meaning to being accepted, as well as not attaching the meaning to being rejected. We've gotten, again, so conditioned that when people say no, those who are not strong in their belief systems and their certainty about themselves, they kind of cringe up and go, what did I do wrong? And that can also lead to attaching way too much to the idea of being accepted. All of us have been around people who they approach us and their desire to be accepted by us is so strong that it's actually repellent. You know, you want them to be away from you. And that comes across in business also. So the idea, again, is to strip away the emotional connection to being accepted and rejected and just take it as going, great. If they haven't accepted my product, if they've rejected it, then it means that they didn't need my service or I didn't explain it to them. So that leads to the other belief, failure. Well, what was the outcome? Could I have presented it to them in a different way? Could I have asked them more questions that would have helped me better understand their core needs? So you take away that personal part of it and you look at it by going, how can I improve next time? It's the same thing with being accepted. Rather than jumping up and down screaming, yay, they like me, it's like, okay, I know that this part of the system works. I followed the steps. Celebrate your wins, absolutely. I mean, it's, you know, you need to celebrate your wins. But it's about attaching that emotion of a personal acceptance or rejection to those situations.
Yeah, very often when we get that acceptance, we think everything went terrific, everything went great, when maybe it hasn't. So you need to analyze those situations just as you analyze the rejection situations.
Exactly. And what I've seen happen with many salespeople also in that situation where they attach so much meaning to being accepted, we have talked about this in other conversations about examination, optimization, systemization. You know what the process is that you're supposed to be doing. But if you've been in a rut where you have not been getting successes and all of a sudden you get that win, you'll throw out all the strategies and just try and repeat that one specific process again. It wasn't that process that did it. You need to stick with the systemization that you've already tested and you know that works.